Hey, boss. Did you watch all the Garfield videos I sent you?
I've just seen a video cassette of Mashiko.
That's cool. But what about the Garfield footage? How did you want to start this segment?
I want you to take revenge by kidnapping Lily. We can make the exchange later.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that. What if we just put together a segment discussing how Garfield has transformed into one of the creepiest characters in pop culture?
Go to hell!
All right then, I'll see you there. During the 1980s, Garfield was an icon. Cartoonist Jim Davis had already established all the essential characters during the 70s: John, Odie, Nermal, and Garfield's teddy bear Pookie.
Big Garfield fan, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm obsessed, but I think I'm pretty normal.
Okay, you reeled me back in.
But by the 80s, Garfield's personality and overall look had been refined quite a bit. His first half-hour TV special premiered in 1982. He appeared as a balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade in 1984, and then received his own animated television series in 1988. Plus, you couldn't drive anywhere without running into at least one of these little guys staring at you. That said, something peculiar has happened to the once comical cat over the past 45 years. The internet is just full of strange and twisted Garfield content. I read that this downward spiral started with the Garfield minus Garfield blog, which removes the funny feline from the original comic strip, leaving John Arbuckle alone, talking to himself in an empty apartment. I also seem to remember that Lasagna Cat web series, where the cast acted out Garfield comics verbatim, with the addition of costume characters and an awkward laugh track. Then things got really weird. Don't forget about the viral Garfief video done on MS Paint and all those hellish Garfield animations that haunt my every waking moment. It's like I can close my eyes, but I still see that colossal cat with the red eyes gazing into my soul. So it got me thinking, when exactly did Garfield get so creepy? In this video, we're going to revisit some of his most disturbing moments and try to reflect on just what went wrong. Plus, let's travel to Brittany, France, where pieces of Garfield have been washing onto the coastline for over 30 years. That's right, if you hate Mondays, you're gonna love this video. Now, before we begin, please consider subscribing to Retro Spectrum on YouTube. We adore nostalgia and really appreciate your support. In 1985, CBS aired Garfield in Disguise. Most people know this half-hour special as Garfield's Halloween Adventure, and for several years, it actually followed Snoopy and his gang in their Halloween special, The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. I remember this program had several creepy moments, like right from the beginning, you're assaulted by the cantankerous clown known as Binky. As the glow of the television lights up the dark room, Garfield is startled awake and provoked into an aerobic exercise.
What am I doing?
Another frightening moment was when Garfield and Odie enter a rundown mansion, where they're startled by a wrinkly old man who warns the two trick-or-treaters about a band of pirates who signed a blood oath to return at midnight. Admittedly, I remember being creeped out by this program, and the effects used to animate the ghost pirates were somewhat terrifying as a kid. Now, if my memory serves, I think the voice of Garfield was Mel Blanc, the man responsible for all your favorite Looney Tunes. Wait a sec. No. I'm thinking of Heathcliff. That other orange cat I thought was a Garfield knockoff until I found out he preceded the Jim Davis comic strip by a number of years. Still, they share a number of similarities, so you can understand my confusion.
Hey, Heathcliff, eat your heart out.
Lorenzo Music was actually the voice of Garfield during the 80s, and if you're like me, you may also remember him from the first 2 seasons of The Real Ghostbusters. Isn't it odd that Lorenzo voiced Peter Venkman, who was played by Bill Murray in the original film, then in 2004, Murray would voice Garfield in his feature film? It's a neat bit of trivia, plus I like the Ghostbuster connection.
At any rate, I need a nap.
You know, there was one special that's arguably more creepy than Garfield's Halloween Adventure. How many people out there have seen Garfield, His 9 Lives?
Why did you do Garfield His 9 Lives, Jim Davis? Hey, nice to see you, Garfield. What's the matter? You a little agitated?
It was based on a book of the same name and depicts all 9 lives and in some cases deaths of the cat.
Action!
Most segments are pretty fun. Then there are others that are completely disturbing. There's one particular segment, Garfield's 7th life, that takes place in a secret government laboratory.
Hold on to that cat good and tight now, Larry. Easy now, fella. Easy there.
One of the lab specimens, an orange cat, receives an injection from one of the scientists.
Larry, get 19 GB ready for dissection. We'll see if it's experienced any preliminary organ modification.
But before they can dissect specimen 19GB, the feline escapes into the woods. After swimming across a river, he starts to feel the effects of the serum and transforms into a canine. It's a really well done piece of animation that, out of context, would be hard to recognize as a Garfield cartoon. Still, if you have a moment, I'd recommend you check it out. During the 80s, Garfield became a regular fixture in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. All the most important characters received balloons. The original Garfield balloon was 60 feet long. Imagine seeing a cat that big floating by your penthouse apartment.
I can hardly wait for what's coming along next. It's the biggest cat you or I have ever seen. Garfield the Delicious. Yum, yum. Bring him on.
Unfortunately, the balloon got pretty beat up during the 90s and had to be retired for a bit after a chamber inside busted open on 77th Street. After one final appearance in 1999, the Garfield balloon was locked in a warehouse, then was packed up and sent home with some of the Macy's employees. If the stories are true, some of the personnel even framed chunks of Garfield and used them as decoration.
You know what? I'm disappointed. They told me it was going to be a real cat. It's made out of vinyl. You know, if I wanted to eat something that big made out of vinyl, I would have eaten Willard Scott's garment bag. Kill me!
We did receive an updated version of the balloon in 2003, but the original was an icon, and it's kind of creepy hearing how it ended up.
Look at that thing. Not enough mustard in the world. That would have fed my entire planet, you know that? Look at that thing. Whoa.
Now let's hitch a ride from the Big Apple down to the Quaker State. There's a lot of fun things to do in Pennsylvania, like eating tasty cakes or attending baby showers in fire halls. You can also take a trip to one of the state's oldest amusement parks, Kennywood. For over a century, park-goers have enjoyed the park's attractions like the Jackrabbit or the Old Mill, a dark ride featuring several spooky moments. The ride has evolved quite a bit since 1901. Even the name has gone through a few changes. Some of you might remember Hard-Headed Harold's horrendously humorous Haunted Hideaway, or its successor, Garfield's Nightmare. Okay, so if you weren't too busy making out while floating down the canal, you'd likely be terrified by Garfield's frightening attraction. Well, maybe terrified might be too strong of a word, but it was a strange ride and extremely creepy. In addition to the bright neon lighting effects, you'd encounter angry pizza boxes, ferocious canines, a Frankfurter Frankenstein, and a group of mice looking to cook Garfield in their stew. Garfield's Nightmare stuck around for more than a decade with little upkeep. The gradual decay of the attraction only added to the disturbing appeal. In 2019, the ride would close with plans in place to transform the spooky attraction back to the classic Old Mill concept. All of the Garfield components had to be destroyed, and the only paw print that still exists is a tombstone that reads, "G Nightmare, I hope there is lasagna." Now, when Garfield wasn't chowing down on lasagna, you might catch him ordering a Big Mac at your local Mickey D's.
There's a cheeseburger here with my name on it.
Garfield was everywhere in the 80s. I can still remember his Happy Meal toys and those mugs they sold at McDonald's that have become somewhat notorious.
It's the most wanted mug in America.
In case you missed it, the paint used on the nostalgic drinkware has been accused of containing excessive amounts of lead and cadmium, far more than the legal limit. If you still have a set, consider putting them up on a shelf as more of a decorative piece. Garfield may also be responsible for the novelty phone trend. Tyco released the Garfield phone. According to the company, it had the latest features: last number redial, mute button privacy, plus, when you lift the receiver, Garfield's eyes open. There was even a toll-free number you could call in order to talk to Garfield.
Listen to me. Trader, I believe that you've received a death message from our Ninja Empire.
The Ninja Empire is evil. I have to reform the Ninja Empire. That is why I took away the Golden Ninja Warrior.
You've got 3 days in which to return the Golden Ninja Warrior, or else you die.
Go to hell.
This phone was extremely popular both in and outside the States. Shipping containers full of Tyco's Garfield phone traveled across the globe. Garfield's biggest mystery took place along the shoreline of Brittany in the western coast of France. Over the past 3 decades, orange debris has littered their beaches. Locals have picked up telephone receivers, plastic paws, washed out eyes, and a smug face with a mischievous grin. Now, as strange as that sounds, it continued for years, and it wasn't clear what was going on or where they came from. The origin of all this debris was a mystery, up until recently. It turns out a lost shipping container had fallen off a cargo ship back in the 80s and wound up nestled in a damp cave located along the coast. Since these plastic phones weren't prone to decompose, they just tossed around inside that cave. Then, at high tide, some chunks of the feline-shaped phones would make it out to the beach. I think it's kind of fitting, right? Just like those Tyco novelty phones, Garfield went from one of the most recognizable cartoon characters to the far darker version the internet has gifted us today. Still, it's kind of fun to look back and recognize how some of the creepier elements have been around since the beginning. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. If you have any memories of Garfield's specials or any of the products we discussed in this video, tell me all about it in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor and drop a like and consider subscribing to Retro Spectrum.